What's up? What's up? I sound rough, huh? What's up? What's up? It is your girl, Pastor Courage Molina. Y'all can see my books, my papers over there. We all know I work for a living, right? And this is my desk, so it's okay. What's up? What's up? It's your girl, Pastor Courage Molina, coming to you today with Freedom Friday. I am the lead and founding pastor of Dose of Courage Community Church. Oh, I got a lash situation going on over here. Um, we're an online global church for women, entrepreneurs, and just purpose-driven, purpose-focused women. So you don't have to be an entrepreneur, but you certainly purpose-driven, purpose-focused entrepreneurs. And I help you to build extraordinary faith so that you can become bolder, more confident, and courageous enough to be who God has called you to be, do what God has called you to do, and take possession of everything He said you could have. Without hesitation, without apologizing. And so on Fridays, what I really do on Fridays is we just have a conversation. On Friday, I just share with you something that I got free from this week, or that's how it's been. It's been something that I've gotten free from. Is typically what we do on Friday. Let me see who's in the comments. What's up, Sonara? We usually talk about, something I got free from. But this week, I was thinking this morning, first of all, I obviously slept in. I've only been up for like maybe 15, 20 minutes. And it's not because of anything good. I stayed up late watching some show or whatever. So this morning when I woke up, I'm laying in bed thinking like, okay, what were my lessons from the week? What did I get free from this week? And I feel like I didn't get free from anything this week. If I'm honest, I feel like I didn't get free from anything this week. And I was like, dang, I really didn't get free from anything. Or maybe I wasn't paying attention this week, or, maybe I need to focus or whatever. But I didn't get free from anything this week, but I walked in my freedom. Right. And so that's the lesson for today. The word of God says, so if the Son sets you free, whom the Son sets free will be free. Right. And so I started thinking about that this morning as I was thinking about, I don't feel like I got free from anything this week. What I did was I exercised my freedom this week, though. You understand what I'm saying? I don't feel like I had any chains that were broken off of me that were brand new this week. I feel like I started walking in the freedom of not having those chains, if that makes sense. And so it's just started to dawn on me that, it's not just about getting free from something. It is also about walking in that freedom. So when you get free from, somebody else's idea of what you could or couldn't be, when you get free from trying to please other people, when you get free from chasing money, when you get free from worrying about your reputation or what people are going to say about you, when you do what God has called you to do, it gives you the freedom to do something. You see what I'm saying? It gives you the freedom to do something. Sometimes we have gotten free, but we still don't walk in our freedom. It reminds me of the story of the lady who was caught in the act of adultery. The lady who was caught in the act of adultery. They bring her out to Jesus and they're like, we caught her. We saw her. We saw with our own two eyes. She was right in the middle of it when we snatched her out and brought her to you. Now the law say that she should be stoned. That's what the law say. So what you about to do about this, Rabbi, teacher, Jesus? Jesus is sitting there looking at these fools, writing something in the dirt. Nobody knows what he's writing in the dirt. It's not said what he's writing in the dirt. But I wonder if he's writing, yo, mama, you last week, Thursday, right? Like the things that they were doing that they shouldn't have been doing and nobody drugged them out. But nobody knows. It's just speculation, right? He's writing in the sand. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Cool. She should be stoned. Okay, cool. He doesn't defend her. He doesn't say, well, we're going to show her grace and mercy. He just says, let he who was without sin cast the first stone. So it says that the older men left first. I feel like the older men left first because they are probably more aware of their sin and how long it's been going on and all the things that they did when they were younger, right? So they probably have a longer memory of sin. I feel like sometimes young people, we don't see it. We can only see what somebody else is doing. You know what I'm saying? But the old men started walking away. The oldest dropped their stones and walked away. And then the younger men. And then Jesus says, so where the people, asked the lady, so where are the people at? She was like, they all left. Lord, they all left. She was like, he said, if they didn't condemn you, neither will I. Now, I just want to make a point here that Jesus could have thrown a stone at her and started the stoning because he said, let he who was without sin throw the first stone. So he could have thrown the first stone and then given the man permission to then throw stones after that. But he did not. He said, they left, they didn't condemn you, neither will I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Now, depending on what kind of church you went to, depending on, really how you view Jesus, when you hear that go and sin no more, it can sound like go and don't be out here doing what you've been doing. Stop doing what you've been doing, right? It could be like that. But it could also be like, okay, you got caught. This is it. You are free. You are free from this condemnation. You are free from the punishment of your sin. You are free from that. You are now free. You are free from the condemnation and the shame, which makes you free to live a life that you hadn't lived before, right? It makes you free to live the way God has called you to live. It's giving you the freedom to decide to do things differently. I know this is how I've always done them, but I got free from the mindset that led me to that habit. And since I got free from that mindset, I'm now free to move differently. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so that's what I want to encourage you to do today. I want to encourage you. I want to give you the freedom. I want to remind you that you have the freedom to do better. You have the freedom to choose differently. You have the freedom to pivot. You have the freedom to change your mind. I am not bound to decisions that Courage made 7 months ago. I'm not Courage of today. What's today's date? Courage of June 3rd is not bound to the decisions that Courage of January 1st made. I can change. I don't have to do what she made the decisions to do. Why? Because there were some things that she was bound by. There were some mindsets that she was still a slave to that she's gotten free from. And now that allows me to be free to move differently, move in a way that she wasn't able to, make decisions about my business and my ministry that she didn't have the mind to do, make decisions about my team and my help and my goals and all those things that she didn't have the freedom to. She was bound by poverty thinking. And so I don't have to keep the same payment plan or payments or investment plan that she had. I am free to invest even more in my business. I'm free to invest even more in myself. I have the freedom to do that. I have the freedom to stop playing small. There was a mindset situation I had back then, but I got free from that. And when I got free from that, it gave me the freedom to do actually what I want to do in my heart. It's given me the freedom to actually do the thing that God has called me to do at the level he's called me to do it. It's given me the freedom to actually start declaring out of my mouth the thing that I want to do with my life. It doesn't make any sense for us week after week after week to get free from something and then not exercise our freedom to do something. I wonder, what have you gotten free from? I wonder, what have you gotten free from this past week, these past weeks? This is month 6 of the year. This is the 6th month of the year. What things did you get free from in the last 5 months that the Lord wants you to use that freedom to do something, but you haven't been using your freedom? I have the freedom to do XYZ. Some of you quit your job and you have the freedom to set your schedule, but you haven't set it. Some of you have decided to start businesses, right? Some of you have decided to start businesses. Some of you have been freed from mindsets and you have the freedom to write the book, but you haven't written the book. Some of you have been freed from, people's opinions of you, but you haven't exercised that freedom to start the ministry. You're waiting on what? You got free from the mindset that wouldn't allow you to the minute that you recognize that you have been held in bondage by somebody else's expectations, by somebody else's limiting beliefs, maybe even by your own limiting beliefs. The moment that you can see those things and you cut those things away, the moment that you got that clarity, some of you got freedom from a cloudy mind. You got freedom from not being able to see. You got freedom from not really knowing what you want, but you're not exercising that freedom to do anything. You just like, oh, well, I got clarity around what God is calling me to do, but you ain't did nothing yet. But you haven't done anything yet. I did a video this week on starting an online ministry. I serve so many amazing women who've been called to lead both in the church and in my coaching programs. I serve such amazing women who are called to lead in their communities, called to lead in industries, called to lead in ministry. And y'all have the stuff, and it's like, oh, well, I know this is what the Lord is telling me to do. And you've made some choices. You've got some mindset freedom. You've been in coaching programs. So now you understand. You've gotten free from a lack of clarity. You've gotten free from a lack of knowledge, right? You didn't know how to do it. You didn't know what steps to take. So you knew what you were called to do, but you were bound by your lack of knowledge. You were bound by your lack of community. But now you've gone through a coaching program. You know exactly what you need to do and how to do it, but you still ain't moved on it yet. You still not walking in the freedom that you have to start building your ministry. I put down 5 little easy steps so you can start your ministry online today. If you're going to start an online ministry, if you're going to start a ministry, it don't take nothing but for you to say it, for you to do it. What is it that you do? Oh, I want to help women get free from XYZ. Okay, well, then help women get free from XYZ. Stop treating your calling like it's a hobby. Stop treating this freedom, right? Stop acting like you still bound behind closed doors. The Lord has opened the door. He has loosed the chains, and you still standing in the same position you were standing in. He didn't get you free just so you could be free. He got you free so that you were free to. Even when it comes to salvation, we have been freed from the law of sin and death, but we have not been free from the law of sin and death just so we could be free. The word of God says you are a workmanship created through Christ Jesus. He's talking about what Jesus did for you on the cross, what God did for you through Jesus on the cross. He did that work so that you could do the work that he set before you, that you were predestined for, that he had in mind for you. It's the reason he created you. And now that you've gotten free from the law of sin and death, now that you've been made free, right? Now you can be now I can come over here. I'm free to walk in my purpose. I'm free to walk in my calling. I'm free to walk in the promises of God. Now that I know who I am, I'm free to walk in the identity that being one with Christ gives me. Now that I know who I am, I no longer have to play small. You know, before I had to dim my light and play small because I was bound by this image that I had of myself. I was bound by this image that I thought I could do what I thought I could do, what I thought I could have. But now that I know I'm a child of the Most High God and I'm an heir, right? Now that I've gotten free from an identity crisis, some of you were bound by an identity crisis. You didn't know who you were. You thought that who you were your experiences, what people said about you, what people did to you, but you have come to know Christ. And so now you know that's not who you are. You are free from that crisis of a self-identity crisis. You are free from that, but you are free too. God gets you free from so that you can be free too. So I wonder what you've gotten free from in these last 5 months. I wonder where you've gotten free from in these last 12 months that has given you the freedom to do something that you have yet to start doing. I want to remind you that you have the freedom to demand more from the people in your life. You have the freedom to require more from yourself. You have the freedom to change up your boundaries. Okay, those were the boundaries of the girl who came from back then. Okay, yes, those were the boundaries that were set. Okay, yeah, those were the aspirations of the girl back then. But now that I've gotten free from these feelings of unworthiness and I know that I'm worthy, I understand that what God did for me has made me worthy. Now that I know that, now I'm free too. Now I'm free to do something. The Lord did not get you free from your poverty mindset so you could continue not to invest in yourself. The Lord did not get you free. The Lord did not free you from a poverty mindset so you could continue to not invest in yourself. I read this book. What is it called? Who Not How which I've been talking about a lot lately. I read this book, Who Not How. And the premise of the book is that when you have a goal that you want to accomplish, right? Um, the first thing you need to think about is not how you're going to get it done, but who you need, right? And it's this idea that you kind of have your area of expertise, and excuse me, if you need to do something or want to do something that's kind of outside of your area of expertise, instead of figuring out like, okay, how am I going to do that? Case in point, I want a traditional publishing deal, right? I want to secure a traditional publishing deal. I want my next book to be available in bookstores across the world. I want to help women get free, right? So when I think about, okay, this is what I want, I start to think about, how am I going to do it? How am I going to get a traditional publishing deal? Are y'all with me? You've got something you want to do and you start to think about how you're going to do it. I want to know how. You know that you need to start a YouTube channel. How am I going to start the YouTube channel? You know that you need to start showing up, on social media. It's like, how am I going to do this right? We start thinking about how. But when what you're going to do is outside of your area of expertise, and my area of expertise is not publishing, then the question should not be, how am I going to do it? It should be, who's going to help me do it? That's the premise of the book. And he goes on to talk about, that means you're going to have to invest. You're going to have to, sometimes you're going to have to pay. If I'm called to do this thing, but I want to get on 300, I want to get on 300 podcasts. I want to be interviewed 300 times this year, right? Scheduling and pitching is not really my area of expertise. Speaking and teaching is my area of expertise. So it's not about how am I going to get on 300. It is who's going to help me to get on 300 podcasts this year, right? Who's going to help me? And that means that we have to invest. He said it's going to cost you something. You're going to have to pay somebody to do it. Sometimes you're going to have to pay a lot. And I started thinking about that. And I started thinking, if I were 6 months ago, who I am right now, because I got free from some things 6 months ago. Okay. 6 months ago, I got free from my poverty mindset. Over the past few weeks, the past month and a half or so, I got free from feelings of unworthiness, feeling like I'm unworthy, right? And those freedoms have changed me, right? So I got free from that. Now I have the freedom to, because I no longer have a poverty mindset, because I no longer have feelings of being unworthy for God's abundance. Now that I got free from, I have the freedom to invest in me, Courage Molina. I have the freedom to invest in my business. I have the freedom to invest in my ministry. And so in just a very short amount of time, I went from not really investing a ton in myself. I did a lot of stuff myself. I did a lot of things myself in the years that I've been an entrepreneur. I did my podcast. I was doing my own podcast editing. I was doing my own social media scheduling. I'm writing my own emails. Those emails that you get, they were from me. I was doing my own launch. I was doing my own webinar. I was creating my own Bible study guides. I was creating my own programs. I was creating my own, editing my own YouTube. I was filming my own YouTube. I was running my own ads back in the day when I was doing ads. I was doing all of this stuff myself. I was doing all that stuff myself. Why? Because then I was still a slave to poverty mindset. I was still cleaning my house myself. I was still going to the grocery store myself. I wasn't using Instacart. Why? Because I was still a slave to a poverty mindset. So when I got free from the poverty mindset and I started to believe and understand that God's promise over me is exceedingly and abundantly. That's my portion. That my portion is abundance. My portion is not lack. I cannot speak for other people, but my portion is not lack. Okay? My portion is not lack. Child of God, your portion is not lack. Your portion is not barely making it, can barely make ends meet. It ain't gonna work in 2 or 3 days. That's not your portion. Your portion is exceedingly abundantly. Your portion is abundance. Your portion is pressed down, shaken, pressed down, and overflowing. Your portion is so much room there won't be room enough to store. That's your portion. Okay, that's your portion. And when we get free from this poverty mindset, people are always talking about the prosperity gospel. Like, oh, people are preaching this prosperity gospel. I don't know what else it is, though. I don't know what else the gospel is if it's not for your soul to prosper. If it's not, he said, I want your life and your soul to prosper. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand what it is if it ain't prosperity. I don't understand what it is if it ain't abundance. I don't know what the gospel is if it's not an abundance of freedom and peace and joy. I don't know what it is if it's not prosperity. You understand what I'm saying? But instead, we do a lot of poverty. We want to have this that makes us closer to the Lord, right? That makes us closer to the Lord. But the gospel is really a gospel of purpose, and your purpose is connected to your prosperity, right? So when you get free from that mindset, it gives you the freedom to move like you understand that your portion is exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask, think, or imagine. That your portion is so much so there won't be, when I pour you out a blessing, there won't be room enough to store. When you understand that your portion is when you understand that your portion is above and beyond, when you understand that your portion is eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard, when you understand that your portion is good, that all things work together for your good, when you understand that that's your portion, it gives you you are free from that. Now it gives you the freedom to. Now I have the freedom to invest. I'm free from a poverty mindset because God listen, I want y'all to get this connection. I want to make sure y'all get this connection. Okay. Let's start with this. You are a woman of faith who has come to know Christ. So you have accepted the gift of salvation. We understand by the word of God that you were created through Christ Jesus for the work that God has predestined you for. That lets us know that you were created with a purpose. You have decided to walk in your purpose. God has said that he's working all things together for your good. God has said that he can do exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think. So you understand that you have a purpose and that God wants you to do that work, the work that you were created for on this earth. And as a child of God, he said, if you seek ye first the kingdom of God, all these other things will do. If you read a few verses before the verse of seek ye first, if you read the verse before seek ye first, he's talking about food and clothes and the things that you're going to eat and where you're going to stay. If I seek that first, all of those things will be added to me. He's telling us, right, that a life of purpose, a life of obedience, that is going to produce fruit. It's going to produce the fruit of the things that he said that we could have, right? We're going to get those things on this side, right? So if I know that to be true, that means that he is getting me free from things. He is pruning and pulling things back. He is cutting out the weeds. He is breaking chains in my mind and in my life to get, if you didn't need to be free to get it, why make you free? If you didn't need the chains off in order to be who God has called you to be, why take the chains off? Right? Those chains, no matter how long you've had them, no matter how comfortable you are with them, those chains have got to be broken. You have got to get free. The Lord is setting you free so that you are free to, right? So that you have the freedom to do the things that you need to do, because it's in those things that you are going to fulfill the purpose for his life. I cannot get to where God is taking me with a poverty mindset. I cannot do the work that God has called. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You can't do the work that God has called you to do with the poverty mindset. You can't do the work that God has called you to do with trust issues. You can't do the work that God has called you to do with discipline issues. You can't do the work that God has called you to do with consistency issues. You can't do the work that God has called you to do with bitterness and resentment issues. You can't do the work that God has called you to do with refusing to get uncomfortable. You cannot do the work that God has called you to do with those things holding you. You can't get there. Now, you've made some progress in your life with your trust issues. You have certainly accomplished some things with your trust issues. You have certainly accomplished some things with your poverty mindset. You're doing better than people are from where you're from. You're doing better than how you came up. So you have certainly been able to do something. But I want you to understand that where you are right now, the place that you've been able to get while you've been bound, imagine how much further you could go if you got free. Imagine how much further you could go if you lived free. Imagine how much further you could go if you were you can't get to where you're going worried about what people are going to say about you. You cannot get to where God is taking you worried about how people are going to respond to you, because your platform is going to be so big that you are going to be a target for trolls. Your platform is going to be so big that people in the industry are going to take notice of you. And because you've been called to shake up that space, because you've been called to turn it upside down, because you've been called, the work that you're going to do is going to be like Jesus turning over tables. People are going to have a lot to say about you. They're going to be YouTube channels dedicated to you, honey, and it's not going to be the good kind. You understand what I'm saying? You will not be able to stand that heat in that kitchen if you don't get free from the opinions of other people. If you don't get free from people pleasing, you will always sacrifice your gift and the work that God is calling you to appease somebody else. You can't get to where God is taking you until you start operating in the freedom that he's given you. Some of you have been given freedom and you won't walk in the freedom. You have been given freedom to do something. I want you to understand this. Freedom to do something does not mean that there is no fear or doubt or being afraid involved. That is not true. That's not what that means. So some of you don't even know you free. I mean, that's the sad part right there. You free, but you don't even know you free. The fact that you can see these chains means that you're free. You couldn't see them before. You couldn't even recognize that you had trust issues. You couldn't even recognize that what you were operating from was a place of poverty. I couldn't recognize that the place that when I went to that retreat, I could not have identified. If you had asked me, if my closest friend had asked me, Courage, what do you think is really keeping you? I would not have been able to put my finger on the unworthiness that, okay, it's my feeling of unworthiness that's really keeping me from showing up, because I show up, y'all, because I built a ministry, y'all, because I built a business. I wouldn't have been able to identify that. I wouldn't have been able to see the change. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? When you are truly I cannot see the chains. I can't see the chains, right? I can't see the chains of unworthiness. I couldn't see it. I couldn't have prayed for it. I wouldn't have fasted about it. I would have denied it if anybody had asked me. And it wasn't because I was lying. It's because I, honest to God, couldn't see the chains that had me bound. And those chains were chains of unworthiness. Now, baby, let me tell you something. When I saw those chains, when the Lord revealed those chains, I knew me being able to see those chains meant that I was free. Now I had a decision to make. Would I walk in my freedom, or would I stand in the place that I'd always stood? Right? When you stand on the beach near the water, you put your feet down, you stand right there near the water, your feet kind of sink down into the sand, right? And now you kind of got this impression. And so you start to know, you understand what I'm saying? Now, when I notice that my feet have gone down, I've got a decision to make. Am I going to shake this sand up off my feet? Am I going to put in the extra effort so I can move like I know that I'm free because I realize I'm free? Or am I going to stand in the space I've been standing in? They talk about this in psychology. They talk about this with pets. We're not that different from animals, y'all. But if you you can train a dog, right? If you put him on a train, you can train a horse. If you put them and they can only go so far, they will learn that they can only go so far. We saw this in Tom and Jerry back in the day. I don't know if y'all old enough to know Tom and Jerry. We saw this in Tom and Jerry back in the day, where the dog will run. And even when the mouse let him out from the chain, if he don't know that the chain has been loose, right? He think, oh, I still got a chain. So he stopped. He run as far as he can, and then he stopped. And then he turned around and he looked. And the mouth show him, and he be like, oh, so I actually can go. But he been loose. He just didn't get loose. You know what I'm saying? He been loosed. He just didn't get loose. Some of you, your chain is undone, but you just still standing in the same spot. You still want to allow yourself to go any further. You know, when you realize, when you start to say things, and listen, when you start to say things like, I know I have a poverty mindset, I know that I have trust issues, you have been set free. You are refusing to be free. And I'm not saying it's not a process. I'm not saying it's not a process. I'm not saying you're going to run down the street, but I'm saying you're going to make some moves though. You're going to make some moves though. When you realize I have a poverty mindset, you start to ask yourself, okay, is this wisdom speaking? Or is this the weakness of my flesh speaking when I'm talking about these money decisions? When you start to get into situations where you need to trust people, you know that you have a call on your life and you realize that your trust issues are keeping you from it. It means that you have been set free. You may need to learn how to walk again. You may need to get some braces on your legs so that you can walk a little bit further. You may need some type of physical therapy or something like that because of the indentation and the sores that you had from not being able to trust people or not trusting people or having trust issues. But when you start saying things like I have trust issues, or I have a poverty mindset, or I'm a procrastinator, that means you have been set free. We're not choosing to walk in it. I'm not saying we're gonna all set off running, but you're not choosing to walk in it. And because this is what you need to know, with every step that you take in freedom, you will start to feel more free. And every step that you take in freedom, it makes me wonder about slaves, right? It makes me wonder about the slaves when the slaves were set free, right? Just I know there's a whole school of thought on that, but I'm just saying, walk with me here. And it's like, okay, you're free to go. Your chains are off. You're free to go. I wonder if they were suspicious of their freedom, right? I wonder if they were suspicious of their freedom. I think that we get free, but then we start to get suspicious about our freedom, so we don't live in our freedom, right? Like, okay, I'm actually getting free from anxiety. Here's a perfect example. I'm actually getting free from anxiety. But when somebody tells me something that would have made me anxious when I was a slave to it, and it doesn't make me anxious now, that causes me to be anxious because I'm suspicious of the freedom. Okay. When somebody calls me and tells me something that would have in the past, right, when I was more anxious and more fearful, and it would have caused me to cry, and I just would have thought of all the horrible things that might happen to my own people or whatever, I would fall apart. So now when I get bad news about something, I feel it, I experience it, I'm not without emotions. But when it does not wreck my entire day, when it doesn't wreck all of my plans, I become suspicious about it. I truly believe that God was freeing me from my anxiety at the start of March 2020 when Charlotte, North Carolina, when the state shut down, because I had taken my husband to Florida to work. And when I came back, I had been asked to speak. She was like, the world is crazy right now, and we would just love to hear a word from you. And I kept asking the Lord, like, okay, so what's the word? And the word that he gave me is, ain't nothing changed. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not doing that, because the world, like, things have changed. People have died. People have lost loved ones. The state is shut down. You can't go in between states. There's a mandate. You can get a ticket for leaving I'm telling the Lord, like, he don't know, right? Like, he don't got cable. The Lord get all the channels. He's like, ain't nothing changed. And at the very beginning, there was like a very small window, probably like a month long window when it first happened. that I wasn't afraid. I had no fear. I had peace. He kept saying nothing changed because I'm still God. But that freedom, the peace that I had in March 2020, I sacrificed it because I was suspicious of the freedom. And as a result of being suspicious of the freedom, things actually got worse than they had ever been. My anxiety was worse than it had ever been. Wouldn't let people come in my house, didn't want to talk to people, didn't want my people going outside, making people wash their hands, even if they only went outside for a second, yelling at people, telling them to put their mask on. I want your mask on. It went from I already had some anxiety before to this peace, this absolute peace for it was probably less than 30 days. It was a real short window. And I was supposed to give this, and I did bring the word that nothing's changed, right? And I just had this peace. Man, I was so suspicious of that peace, y'all. I could not, I was like, I should be more worried. I like something is clearly wrong. I think I'm I think I might have had a psychotic break because I should be way more worried than I am, but I'm not worried. I was free, but I was suspicious of the freedom. So I put my own chains back on. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I chained myself back up. I was like, no, this freedom seems very suspicious. Put my chains back on. No, it's no way. I know that the word says that we could have peace that surpasses all understanding. But when the Lord made me free, I was suspicious of the freedom. So I put my own chains back on. How many? You ain't got to put it in the chat, but I wonder how many times the Lord has made you free from something and you were suspicious of that freedom that you put your own chains back on. I wonder what identity God has freed you from. I'm a woman who doesn't trust. I'm a woman who I'm a people pleaser. I'm a procrastinator. I wonder how many times the Lord has freed you from that. Right? How many times the Lord has freed you from that, and then you've become suspicious. I wonder how many times you have started to operate in a place of discipline and consistency, and then your suspicion about the fact that you were getting things done ahead of schedule caused you to sabotage yourself because you became suspicious of your freedom. When you get free, it's to give you the freedom to. When you get free from procrastination, you are freed from procrastination, right? It's giving you the freedom to start working on the project early and often. It's giving you it's giving you the freedom to start on the project early and often. You got free from procrastination. The minute you say, well, I'm a procrastinator, stop saying that crap. You are not a procrastinator. Say, I choose to procrastinate because I refuse to take possession of what God has for me. Say that. See how that tastes. I choose procrastination. I choose distrust because I'm refusing to trust even God. I choose to distrust people because I've decided to refuse my healing. I've decided to refuse the purpose that he has for me. I've decided to refuse the blessings that he has for me. That's what I've sent those blessings back. Right? Stop saying that you're a procrastinator. Stop saying that stop saying those things. You can see those chains. Now you have the freedom to do things differently. A person who don't know they procrastinate don't have the freedom to stop procrastinating. Do you know that? The person who cannot recognize that they procrastinate. The person who cannot recognize that they are people pleasers, right? um People who can, like, when you don't recognize that you have something, you can't choose to do something else, right? That there are people that there listen, I'm telling you right now, there are things you operating in right now that you don't even realize. You can't do nothing about that because you don't even realize it's a problem. You can't realize it's, you don't see that it's a problem. You can't do nothing about that. 6 months from now, you might be able to recognize what's got you right now, but right now you're not free from it, so you don't even recognize that it's an issue. You don't even recognize that it's an issue, right? We don't even recognize that it's an issue. But when I can recognize that this is the thing that's keeping me bound, it means that even though I feel like a harlot because they caught me in the act of adultery, that even though I feel like the town slut because they caught me in the act of adultery, I have been set free. So the next time I have the opportunity to behave as a harlot, the next time I have the opportunity to behave the way I've always behaved, because Jesus has set me free, I am free to turn down the sexual advances. Since we started with the woman who was caught in the act of adultery, right? I have been separated and excluded and ostracized because I've been dealing with the issue of blood for 12 years. I have been staying outside of the synagogue. I have had to call out unclean, unclean everywhere I go in the event that I had to go into town for something so that I would not make anyone else unclean. But as I touched the hem of his garment and I have gotten my healing, I no longer have to stay living outside of the camp. I can now go home and start to pack my things and start to look for a new place. Even though, do you understand what I'm saying? It hasn't been months and years that I've been clean. I can stop saying right now that I'm unclean. I never have to say that again. Why? Because I've gotten healed in this very moment, because I've gotten free from the issue of blood. So right now, today, when I stand up off this dirt right now, I will not say out my mouth again that I'm unclean, even though I've said it every single day for the last 12 years. I ain't gonna say it today. Even though people who are looking at me from the outside know that I am the woman who has been to every doctor in town. You hear what I'm saying to you? Even though everybody around me knows me as the unclean woman, I will not be saying unclean when I go to the store because it might make them uncomfortable to see me coming. Do not care. I am not going to continue to say that out of my mouth. Why? Because I have the freedom to walk in peace. I have the freedom to walk in my healing. I have the freedom to come and find community. I have the freedom to invest in myself. I have the freedom to say what it is that I want. I have the freedom to find a man if I want to. I have the freedom to start my ministry. I have the freedom to do all of these things. So now I'm going to start walking in that. I'm not going to stay bound to this slavery that the Lord has made me free from, and I'm not putting these shackles on my own feet. The Son that set you free, you have the freedom too. He set you free from something, right? Right. I love that, Tina. I won't continue to put on coats or characteristics that God has not placed on me. No. And not just that God has not placed on you. We're talking about the stuff that God has taken off of you. He's like, okay, Tina, you don't need this. Oh, let me look at you. Okay, Tina, let me take that off. We out here putting on coats and characteristics. Not only did God not put on us, but He actually has been taken off of us. He continues to take it off of us. We go to the altar, He takes it off. And then when we get ready to leave, we be like, all right, God, I love you. Let me get this scarf. Let me get this jacket. Let me get this button. Why? Because people not going to recognize me if I'm not wearing this coat. People not going to recognize me if I ain't wearing this scarf. People not going to recognize me if I put this stuff on. They're going to think they ain't even going to know who I am. Okay, well, be unrecognizable. Okay. Be unrecognizable. Let somebody be like, oh, girl, I didn't even know who he was. I know, child. Let the Lord Marie Kondo your wardrobe, your emotional, spiritual, mental wardrobe. Let the Lord Marie Kondo that thing. Put that thing in the box and don't bring that stuff back to your house. We out here, the Lord is out here Marie Kondoing. Y'all know Marie Kondo? She said you got to see if you love it. If it look good on you, you got to look at it. Do you like it? Does it fit? Do you love it? Do you wear it? When you touch it, do you like, oh, yes, I love it. I look good in it. Then you can keep that. But anything that you don't love, that don't fit well, that don't look good on you, that you don't like to wear, you put that in a box and you don't go back to the box of the giveaways. It's like those people you see on the sitcoms and on the shows and stuff. They're like, oh, I got to clean my house out of this junk. And then they put all that stuff in a garage sale. And then when people come to buy it for a nickel, then they be like, nah, I'm going to keep this. Not the yard sale is over. Now the yard sale is over, and guess what? You done got back all your stuff. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. Now you decided it was trash. You know that it had no place for you. You knew that it was holding you back. So you took it to the altar of the Lord, took it off, and then before you left, he was like, "Let me just put that back on. Let me keep acting this way because I've always acted this way." Sometimes I had a somebody tell me I have a therapist or whatever, and I was talking to a relative about it, and I was like, oh, I realized that this was like last year when I first started, so I didn't got free from so many things with my therapist job. I don't even know what it was, but it was something. I think it was just like overall, right? I wanted to know when I first started because I realized that I had anxiety in May. In May, that's I told y'all I put the trains back on. In May, the anxiety was so bad. I was like, nope, I'm not gonna do this by myself. I am going to invest in me and I'm going to get free from this. And so I got the therapist, and as you know, she was recommended, right? And so one of the things I asked her in our very first meeting was, do you believe that it is possible for a person to be completely healed from anxiety? Because I know not all psychologists are the same, even when they're Christian psychologists, okay? Even when they're Christian therapists. So I was like, do you believe that it is possible for me to get completely healed from anxiety? And she said, oh, absolutely. Absolutely, courage. Absolutely. She said, and if that's what you're coming for, absolutely. I think it's absolutely possible. I was like, okay, let's go. And so I was telling a family member, we were just talking about anxiety and therapy. And my relative was like, yeah, but just because you know you have it, don't mean you're going to get free from it. Just because you know you have it, don't mean you're going to get free from it. That's what she said. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, you'll probably always have it. You just have to learn how to manage it. And I was like, uh-uh. No, I'm not going to learn how to carry this weight. I'm not gonna keep this coat. I'm taking this coat off. And if now maybe I ain't take the full coat off, but I did unbutton. I'm unbuttoning it. I might be a little slow. These buttons might be a little hard to maneuver, but I'm unbuttoning this coat of anxiety that has been weighing me down, and I'm going to start walking, right? It's so crazy. That's actually like the technique in therapy. When you recognize that you are a procrastinator, when you recognize that you are a worrier, when you recognize that you have a poverty mindset, to acknowledge it in the moment and then to act opposite the urge. That's the thing my therapist tells me all the time. This is what she's really saying. When you can see the chain and you are getting ready to make a decision like you are still chained up, acknowledge, okay, I see the chain and I am going to do what I would do if I were free. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what You, I gotta act opposite the urge. I'm gonna start acting opposite the urge, right? I'm gonna start acting opposite of the slave mindset that I had, of the like. I'm gonna start acting opposite of that. Okay, I normally would put this project off until 3 months from now. I normally would not start this early. Right now, my urge is to not follow through on my plan because I have time. Right now, my urge is to say, well, I have 3 months, so missing one day wouldn't do it. That's my urge. That's my tendency. I'm going to acknowledge, you know what? I really did used to be like that. I really was that way. And since I don't want to work right now, even though it's my time to work, and even though right now I feel like just watching Netflix and chilling, I'm actually going to act opposite of that and go and start this work. That's how you start to walk in your freedom. Not still saying the same thing over and over, not still doing the same thing over and over because it's what you've always done, it's who you've always been. Okay, well, decide to start new habits. Make it a habit to put yourself first. Make it a habit to be disciplined. Make it a habit to follow the schedule that you set. Make it a habit to, get the things done first that you need to get done before you rest, before you make plans for lunch, before you pick up the phone. Make it a habit to not, take a break in the middle of the day when you know that means you're not going to come back to the work. Right? Start to behave opposite of what you've been doing because you have the freedom to do so. Oh, this is blessed y'all, man. I hope this has blessed y'all. I know we normally talk about like getting free from, but the truth is a lot of y'all have gotten free from a lot of stuff this year. God has freed, like how many of you have gotten free from something this year? Just let's be honest. Drop it if you know you have. Say I have. Drop it in the chat. You've gotten free from some things this year. You've gotten free from some mindsets. You've gotten free from some issues that you've had. You've gotten free from a financial situation that you were in. You've gotten free from a relational situation that you were in. You've gotten free from something. Drop that. I have, right? You've gotten free. I wonder what those things were meant to give you the freedom to do that you haven't done. I want you to take some time today and I want you to just think back over the last 6 months. Take out your excuse me, the last 5 months. Take out your planner if you need to. Look at your social calendar if you need to. Look at the last 5 months. And I want you to just try and jot down some of the things that you got free from since January. Right? Just mindsets that you've gotten free from. You can start with I no longer worry about, I no longer do. I recognize. Recognizing is freedom. Do you hear me? Recognizing is freedom. I recognize I don't trust people. I recognize what are the things that you've gotten these last 5 months? And then once you've written that list down, I want you to look at that list of all the things you've gotten free from, of all the things that you now recognize. That when you can recognize something, you have been freed from blindness, ain't it? Because you was blind. Now you can see. You see what I'm saying? You see? You've gotten free from a foggy mind. Now you've gotten clarity. You didn't know what you were supposed to be doing or how you were supposed to do it back in January, but you've gotten free from that lack of clarity now. You've gotten free from that lack of knowledge now, and you recognize, write those things down. And then I want you to look at that list and ask yourself, what are you free to do? God has set me free from this. So now I'm free to what? I got free from lack of knowledge. Now I'm free to execute. Now you know what you've been called. You couldn't execute without clarity. You couldn't execute with the foggy mind. You couldn't execute without the know-how, the coaching that you got. You couldn't execute. But now that you know how it needs to be done, now that you have the clarity in your purpose, now that you have the clarity in who you're serving, now you have the freedom to execute. When you recognize, right, you see what I'm saying? I want you to write down what you have the freedom to do, and I want you to exercise your freedoms. Okay? I want you to first make a list of the things that you've gotten free from. and look at every line item, right? Now I have the freedom to, oh, I realize that I have trust issues. I have the freedom to what? Heal. Hello. I realize that I'm a procrastinator. Now I have the freedom to be consistent and disciplined. I have the freedom to create a strategy. I have the freedom to get an accountability partner. Now that I know that this is my thing. I had a poverty mindset. Now I have the freedom to invest in myself, in my business, in my ministry. Oh, I got free from other people's opinions of me. Now I have the freedom to declare my vision with confidence, right? Now I have the freedom to declare my vision with confidence. Now I can write the vision, share the vision, say the vision, and make it plain. You cannot garner support for the vision. You cannot attract those who are going to be your people, right? To help you build this thing. You can attract those people when you are still bound and refuse to declare the vision. The vision for Dose of Courage Community Church is that every woman of faith in every household, let me say that, I'm going to say it slow, okay? The vision for Dose of Courage Community Church is that every woman of faith in every household would be trained and equipped as ministers of the Word of God. Y'all heard me? I'm free from worrying about what people gonna think I think of myself. I'm free from the bondage of traditions and traditional church. And that's not a knock to traditional church. I'm just free to choose, right? I'm free to choose the purpose that God has actually given me. I'm free to choose the vision. Some of y'all acting like the vision that you had came from yourself. No, the Lord has given you the freedom to choose what He gave you instead of choosing less than. The vision for Dose of Courage Community Church is that every woman of faith in every household would be trained and equipped as a minister of the Word of God. Who can get behind that vision? Who? Who's like, yes, people can't get behind your vision if you won't declare it. The vision I have for myself, who I'm going to be, I'm going to be an industry leader in biblical studies, Bible study guides, devotionals, and the such. I'm going to be an industry leader. That's the vision. When you can start declaring the vision for your business, right? When you can start declaring the vision for yourself, it gives me the freedom to move in that. It gives me the freedom to say I'm no longer doing things I was doing before. It gives me the freedom to say no to good things for the church because our vision, we exist so that every woman of faith in every household would be trained and equipped as a minister in the Word of God. That's how we decide what ministries we have. That's how we decide what things we're going to do. That's how we decide what the culture is of the church. That's how we decide who's going to be on church staff. That's how we decide who's going to be in ministry leadership. Can you get behind that vision? That's how I decide who I need to have when I talk about myself. Courage Molina University. Courage Molina University is going to be the number one school for women to get trained in the word. Number one, accredited. I forgot that part. Those of Courage Molina University is going to be the number one accredited school for women to get trained in the word. Number one, and accredited. You hear me? When you say, because now when you say that you get free from being afraid to say, now that I'm free to declare the vision that the Lord gave me. When I get free from, now I'm free to move with precision and intentionality. You understand? Listen, I love y'all. I'm getting off for real. I hope this has blessed you. Now, listen, I know I talked way longer than I planned to talk, but it's Friday. So sometimes we hit an hour on Friday, especially since it's the only one that I do now. Those of Courage. No, let me send y'all to the direct spot. bit.ly/faith ignited retreat 2022. All right, I want you to go to bit.ly/faith ignited retreat 2022 and register. I want to invite you to come. Capital F, capital I, capital R. It has to be typed in exactly the way you see it. bit.ly/faith ignited retreat 2022. It's going to be absolutely amazing, phenomenal. It's going to be an amazing situation. So I want you to definitely join us, come and join us, get in the space. The purpose of the retreat is so that you can get free. That's the purpose of this first retreat. The theme is freedom. We're going to get free from some things, free from things you need to get free from. And we're going to see some things this weekend we didn't even know we needed to get that weekend that we didn't even know we needed to get free from. And we're going to get free from that stuff too. And we're going to get free from it so that when you leave the retreat, you are free too. You know what I'm saying? You are free to walk in the grace of God. You are free to walk in forgiveness. You are free to build wealth. You are free to build boundaries. You are free to invest in yourself. You are free to put yourself first. You are free to stop asking for permission. Okay? We gonna get you free now. We gonna get free now. So I hope to have you there. There's only 30 spots available. Let me not say that. That's not true. We're gonna hold space for 30 women. There will be 30 women. How many spaces are available right now? I have no clue. I know I need to check. I said I wasn't gonna check it all, but now I need to check and see who's if anybody new has signed up, because I need to put y'all in the Facebook group. We have a exclusive retreat Facebook group. So if you need to find a roommate, you can find a roommate type situation. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to. I'm just thinking this out loud right now. Well, obviously, while I'm on this live, so yeah, I'm probably gonna have to look at it. But I guess I can look at it once a week. I'll look at it today. I'll look at it today. I'll look at it on Fridays. I'll look at it on Fridays because it's right before Saturday. And then everybody that's signed up that's not in the group, then I can put y'all in the group before we get in church on Saturday. And then on Saturday, I can tell you, hey guys, if you signed up for the retreat this week, you've been added to the Facebook group. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna look today. All right, y'all. I love y'all. And I hope to see y'all in the space. See y'all in the morning for church. Cannot wait to see y'all in the morning for church. I don't know why I be singing. Y'all pray for me. Love y'all. Later.